Hello and welcome to Profiles in Risk. This is your host, Tony Cañas, switching to my radio voice. And today I have with me Rob Jacomen, founder and chief growth officer at HPX. Rob, thank you for joining me today. How's it going?
Awesome, Tony. Thank you. It's an honor and a pleasure to be on your show. You are, as I said when we started, you're like one of the coolest guys in the industry. So it's awesome to be on here with you.
Thank you, thank you. In an industry that has a reputation for being really buttoned down and kind of boring, which it is not boring. It historically has been buttoned down, but not boring. I quite simply went from a corporate drone, suit wearing, tie wearing carrier underwriter and just kind of let myself be myself.
Love
and it's worked out. I've had a lot of fun doing it, and I have a lot of fun helping our industry market itself and modernize the way we do things, and especially be much better at the way that we engage people, our employees especially. Is what I've spent a lot of time on. So according to LinkedIn, you are in the DC area. So DC we're recording on August 9th. So dog days of summer, I'm guessing DC is hot and humid.
It is. It is. And we're also getting a storm coming through here from one of the hurricanes. So it's a little good news. We have great internet connection. So and we're weathering the storm. So we're in good shape. So I'm excited to have a great conversation with you, and we can nerd out a little bit too. We can have some fun.
Fantastic. So we always give the guest a chance to give the elevator pitch. What is HPX?
Yeah, it's a great question, Tony. Thank you. HPX is basically one of those things that came to me as an extension of what I had done for the last 18 years and really helping the insurance agency industry really get focused on going after a very specific industry niche or target class of business and going from, sort of that commoditized generalist into a highly valued and respected specialist. And I really believe that the things that we're able to do, from consulting to coaching, we're launching a new niche builder boot camp, which is really exciting. We can get into that in more detail, but I'm really focused on helping these agencies and producers build, grow, and scale a book of business and go after and dominate specific industry niches and target classes of business and grow a massive book and grow a valuable book of business that they can, that they can be proud of and that they can serve at the highest level, and really build a world-class risk management and insurance program for the industries that they've been called to serve.
Perfect. Management program for specific industries. Okay. So I always like to give the disclaimer that I've never been an agent, never been licensed. I've worked at carriers. I've worked with insurtechs and with brokers. And with brokers, I've worked with them as a recruiter, as a sales manager or marketing rep, and as an underwriter, but never at a broker. So I've never sold insurance. But in the 15 years that I've been nerding out about this industry, one of the things that has been super clear, all the research indicates that specialists do much better than generalists, right? Otherwise, it's so easy to become an order taker and just be a quote facilitator that doesn't really add anything to the client, and if you're trying to compete on price, you're going to lose on price next year, right? So I completely agree, and I think we don't need to convince the listeners too much that specialists do better in the agency side. What I've always been confused about, having never done it myself, is how do you become specialized in something, right? So how do you go from new agent at an independent agency to finding a niche that where you can actually become differentiate it and build expertise in that niche?
Yeah, great question, Tony. You know, and that's the thing. It's not as easy as just choosing an industry niche or target class of business. From my experience in what we have is a very unique process to figure out, okay, let's go through the process of choosing the right industry niche for you. Do you have experience? So we have a somewhat of a checklist or a decision process that we go through and kind of consult with you on. And you know, one of the most important things is what carrier mix do you have right now? Who do you have that you could reach out to and start to really forge strong relationships with all of your carrier underwriters, pick their brains, learn about what classes of business or target industries that they are most interested in seeing coming across their desk. In other words, their appetites. And then you formulate a game plan based on your current mix or your current book and what you're either passionate about, what you've written in the past. You know, one of the things I was very attracted to throughout my career was, you know, in the contractor space, I started writing a lot of fire protection contractors. So I actually really niched down into construction and was very successful. And I just learned that industry inside and out. I talked to business owners, I talked to their risk managers, I talked to safety people, I talked to underwriters. It's really all about going out there and really doing what I call product market fit research. You'll learn about the industry. And then with technology, we can use ChatGPT, we can use all these resources to really dive in and learn what are the nuances that are unique and the risks inside of that industry that positions you as a trusted advisor to help them solve the problems that are going on inside of their business. It might be a risk management problem. It might be a, man, your mod is a 1.5 and you know, is your current agent doing anything to help you lower your mod? Do you have policies and safety procedures in place that are going to help you lower your total cost of risk and you know make a positive impact on claims or mitigating claims? These are all things that we take in consideration that would position you to truly be the trusted advisor, the authority to go after that specific class of business and know those businesses inside and out. Because really, Tony, that's one of the biggest questions that were things that we've learned is if you talk to the actual business owners, they want to do business with a specialist who understands their business and industry. And it's just a matter of putting together a world-class program that will enable you to solve those problems and really add a lot of value to that industry. So that's really the process that we would go through and helping you understand what is the right industry niche. You don't have to pick one. You're not pigeonholed into one. You can always pick what I call the major and a minor. You know, you're in college, you pick a major and a minor, and maybe you also go after sub niches of the construction industry that are really good fits for your current carriers, your interests, your passions, and what you're really good at.
Hey, um, are you generally being brought in by the agency, or are you generally being brought in by specific producers? Uh, is it a mix?
Yeah, that's a great question. So a lot of we're also starting to now get some traction upstream. So we're starting to see that carriers are on board with this idea because listen, they have unique problems too. They need to get their brokers and agents on board with the appetites that they're most interested in. So they need to help them and train them and help them basically be able to sell more of those specific niches. So I think it's pretty much across the board right now. If you look at the agency, the commercial insurance distribution channel in general, and you look at all the different players throughout that channel, you have MGAs, you have the carriers, you have the agents and the brokers. You also have producers. And what I typically see is producers will, you know, see some of the content and go, wow, that really resonates with me. I'm chasing everything under the sun. I get it. How do I go after this? How do I build this specific niche that I want to go after? So a lot of producers will you know, we'll do some one-on-one coaching. We've got a group coaching program for producers, but also on the agency side, we do a lot of consulting. Clients will come to us and say, "Hey, listen, we really want to go after this industry niche, but we don't know where to start. We want to build a program. We want to build a sales process, some niche marketing assets, some, you know, we want to build a whole sales and marketing process to create the messaging and the brand and everything revolving around that industry." And so those are some of the things that we're in the best position to help them solve.
Yeah. So once we bring you in, um, what kind of commitment does it take? Is it a 6 month program? Is it a 3 month? Can we go month to month? And how much time um will do we need to dedicate to it? Let's say a week in order to really implement the program.
Yeah, great question. We we look at it honestly at this point, we look at it in silos. So we look at it, there's a beginning and there's an end to it. So I basically look at the silo of, okay, what industry niche do you want to go after? Great. Let's build that program for you. And over the course of 3 to 6 months, whatever it's going to take, we'll start to get all these pieces in place. And we have a whole growth ascension framework. We have a whole process that we go through step by step by step. Everything from, you know, going through, we actually use the what we call the NCAA bracket challenge to choose what niche is going to make the most sense. So I'm basically like, hey, listen, come up with a list of three that you really are passionate about and that you think are really good fits for your agency. And then let's focus on just one. Let's do the process elimination and focus on one right now. Let's build that program. Let's build a world-class program around that niche. And so that process takes some time, but then you have to build a prospect list. You have to create some niche marketing assets. You know, you have to create the messaging and the content and really start to put those frameworks into place and a unique sales process. And I'm a big fan, Tony, of really having a consultative sales process as opposed to, you know, what used to see so much is it's so transactional, and we're really shifting away from that whole mentality of making it a transaction and really creating a consultative process where you're really getting your hands dirty, solving problems for those types of businesses that you're going after, and then coming up with a game plan and a strategy for each one. And that's really served us well in terms of building truly a program. And when I say program, I'm not talking about like a like an MGA or a program. I'm saying you can go to a prospect now and say, "Hey, we built a custom tailored program specifically for your business, and here are the problems we're going to help you solve, and the ones that we see are that are most common in your industry, because every risk is unique. Transportation is going to be very different than construction. Construction is going to be different from restaurants. So you want to get really clear on a risk management game plan and a strategy that's really going to add a lot of value. So that does take some time to put that in place. But then there's the whole back end, which is, okay, now we need to create some content. You know, what does your social presence look like? Content right now is in my opinion, is the fastest and easiest way to grow and to really build a brand. As you can attest yourself. I mean, gosh, you have 27,000 followers on LinkedIn. So, you know, that's great. Every time you put out some content, you're going to get some traction and you're going to get some recognition, and it's going to really build some momentum. So that's really what we're after in the insurance industry. You know this, Tony, as well as I do. There, a lot of these guys are 5 to 10 years behind in terms of trying to keep up with technology and getting away from that old school mentality and really embracing these different platforms to help get the message out.
Yeah. Um, so we choose a niche. You help us research it. Then the content game, I'm assuming that both the type of content and the platforms that we should focus on will vary a ton depending on what we want to go after.
Mhm. It's really gonna you're right. What we're seeing, and I think you could probably see this too, is there's a lot of very general insurance and risk management education and knowledge and different things on these different platforms. It's very general. It's not specific to and resonates with the decision makers in those industry niches or target classes of business. So what we're big fans of and what we believe is you need to start creating some content that's going to resonate with your target market. And sometimes, Tony, it's not always insurance driven. There's other problems going on inside of these businesses that you are in a perfect position to be able to create some valuable content to help them grow their business, to help them attract talent, there's so much you can do to add value that it doesn't always have to be insurance related. It can be something that's unique, but then positions you as truly an expert in that industry. Because I guarantee you, you talk long enough to an owner of a construction firm, you're going to start to see opportunities where you can create content that's really going to resonate with other owners because if he or she has that problem, I guarantee you everyone else in that industry does. So start to create some content around it and start a podcast or do some lives on LinkedIn and start just sharing value and what you know about that industry. Bring on experts who can also share their knowledge and experience in that industry. And then you become known as the go-to person. You become known as somebody who's a real authority in those industries.
Some of the best advice that I've heard over the years is for brokers. Uh, you're don't be the insurance guy that speaks construction. Be the construction guy that can help with insurance, right? Whichever business you're going after, um, become known for your expertise in that business. And that's exactly what you're talking about. You're talking about doing that in a more structured way.
Yep.
Can you share stories from how you've helped clients implement and what kind of results they've seen from it?
Yeah. So a great example is I've got a client right now that specializes in the RIA and financial services industry. So they service registered investment advisors, financial service, anybody who's in that financial services space. And the cool thing, what we're seeing the most traction with is really focusing on those channel partners and centers of influence that they can partner with and start doing webinars and workshops and live events on LinkedIn that are really going to bring on some subject matter experts in those industries that have nothing to do with insurance, but they might have something to do with cybersecurity or cyber liability or EPLI, having something to do with maybe you partner with an attorney who specializes in employment practices liability, and you guys do a webinar on, what are the most common ways that you might get sued or that leaves your business exposed to potential employee litigation issues. Those are the kind of cool things that's really going to resonate with your target market because it's outside of the traditional, I want to say it's boring, but really, truthfully, if you're going to just do a bunch of insurance driven stuff, I think it really limits you as opposed to if you have a more broad spectrum, just to your point, Tony, you become an expert in construction versus the insurance guy for construction. And it just makes you so much more valuable and establishes you as that authority. And there are so many cool cross marketing things you can do, webinars, uh, messaging, partnering with others in the industry. And you know what? The one thing that I wanted to share that might be of value to anyone who's listening is think about your target customer. What does your ideal customer profile look like? Who do they do business with in terms of their vendors, their partners, their trusted advisors? And go reach out and talk to them. Go reach out and partner with them. Ask them if they want to come on your podcast. Ask them if they'd like to partner and do some cross marketing together. Those are the kinds of relationships that you can go really deep in and uh, and build some really meaningful relationships.
How long does it take to from we've identified that we want to go after this particular type of business because we like it or there's a lot nearby to actually start getting some results from it?
Man, that's a loaded question, Tony. Really, in our industry, as you know, it's so different because you're really at the whim of X dates and when their renewals coming up. So really, you want to be strategic about that. And there's resources that you can use like Insurance X date. Is a great resource. Zywave has some great resources, so you can really sift and sort through your prospect list. Here's the thing: you got to start with your what I call your Dream 100 list. If you focus on a very specific industry niche, it makes building a prospect list of decision makers and influencers so much easier. So it's really all about you and how much work you're willing to put in every single day consistently, that you're doing your outreaches, you're doing your follow-ups, you're doing your social media, you're doing your webinars, you're really engaging in high level of activity because here's the thing. Activity always leads to results. When you do the work takes care of you. So you're going to get results by the amount of input that you put in, and that becomes your output. So I always say it's going to be different for everybody, but are you consistently every single day doing the work that you need to do to get your name out there, to get really high quality content out there, to do your outreach, your direct outreach? You have to be doing all those things in a multi-channel way to really gain traction and get results, because this is not the easiest industry in the world. You're looking to unseat 5, 10, 15, 20 year relationships. That's not easy. And that's why I believe if you become a specialist, it's way easier to unseat an incumbent who's maybe doing not the best job in the world, or maybe just doing enough, or just maybe the relationship is built on getting tickets to the ball game, or special things, or you're friends for 20 years. I believe in this industry, you're going to start to see a shift. Value trumps relationship. If you can deliver value and you can solve problems, you are going to win at the end of the day. It's just a matter of time. You put the work in, you solve problems, you become a highly valued, trusted advisor. You're going to position yourself to win every single day. And it's not going to come quickly. It doesn't always come quickly. It can, if you're lucky. Timing is everything too. But you got to put the work in every single day to be successful. And I'm just not seeing that with this with a lot of these producers. They're just not willing to put in that kind of work. But you have a process, you have a system, and you have a game plan, and you execute, you're going to win.
What are the mistakes that you tend to see as people attempt to do this?
Mistakes, I would say the most common mistake, Tony, is exactly what we just talked about. It's not putting in the work and the effort every single day on a consistent basis to get the results and the outcomes that you're looking for. You can do things once in a while, and I'm sure you can do 100 cold calls in one day. But if you take a rest for a week and you do no follow up, you do no continuous outreach, you're not going to hit your goals. So, you know, to answer that question, I think the biggest mistakes we see are two things really. It's not being consistent with your outreach, putting in the work every day, but also falling into the commoditized generalist trap, which is you make a commitment to specialize, but then all of a sudden you get referred an account over here, and then you get an account over here, and then you're like you got that FOMO going on. So it's that I think is the biggest mistake is not committing to going after that specific niche or that target class of business and really committing it to it for the long term and then dabbling in everything else. It really doesn't always work well just because you're just breaking your flow and then you're having to service 20 different types of industries. It's just sometimes that's a real mess. You're better off focusing on one thing and building up your book to that level that you're going after, and that's where you're going to see the most traction and results. But those are the two most common mistakes, in my opinion, that we
All
see.
what's the origin story? I'm always curious how you realized that this was something the industry needed, and that you were the right people to deliver on this.
It's a great question. Really, it started early in my career. So I got really lucky, and I'm a big fan of mentorship and training and really bringing this next generation of producers and agency owners and really having somebody that they can rely on that's going to show them the way. Like who's going to show them like avoid the mistakes that we made over the years. I was lucky. I had some great mentors early in my career. They all specialized. My biggest mentor, the guy that brought me into this industry, he had a massive transportation book, and I saw how well it worked for him to focus on that vertical. I mean, he wrote all the yellow school buses in the state of Pennsylvania. He wrote large long haul trucking accounts, all these different types of transportation types of accounts. And I watched how much easier it was for him to grow a multi-million dollar book. And when I say multi-million, I mean revenue. Um, I speak revenue, by the way, not premium. And I know that sometimes there's a controversy out there. Do you talk revenue or do you talk premium? I think it's really easy to talk about revenue because that's what goes in the bank. So I learned very early on to be consultative in my approach. I learned how to sell leading with risk management. And I really learned how to add enormous value to very specific classes of business and where I was really good. And then over the course of, the last 18 years, then I got to a point where it was really, Tony, it was like a calling. It's I saw the need in the industry and I talked to enough agency owners. I talked to enough carrier underwriters. I talked to enough marketing reps out there who said, we really need this in the industry. These guys need to learn how to market themselves better. They need a well-defined sales process and a consultative approach because the churn and burn way of just I call it the nasty Q word, quoting, it just doesn't work. It's so transactional. So I then went on this journey of saying, hey, I want to make a bigger impact on this industry. So I took everything I've learned over the last 18 plus years, all the things I've learned from leveraging technology and understanding that going after a specific niche is the fastest and easiest way to grow a book. I did it in the fire protection contractor space. I also worked with a lot of GCs. I loved that. And I got really good at it. And I was like, you know what? We can put together a system and a process and a framework and the playbooks and let's bring it to the industry. Let's really make a positive impact on the industry and teach people how to sell more effectively, how to market themselves more effectively, and grow a really valuable book of business that they could turn around if they want to sell it someday. It's going to be way more valuable than just being, a generalist with a mix of personal lines and commercial lines and benefits and, everything under the sun. You can build a very, very profitable, a very valuable book of business by just focusing on certain industries and classes of business. So now we've taken that to the marketplace and just trying to help as many people as we can in the industry be more successful.
Okay. What kind of investments does it take to bring you on?
Well, gosh, I'm a big fan of creating an environment where you get an ROI. So I always, because I come from the agency side, I can always look at it and say, all right, where are you right now? What do we think we can do? And then have a fixed fee arrangement where it's like, okay, here's the project, we're going to build this, and here's the cost. I can only give you can't give you exact numbers because every project's different. But you know what's so unique about our process is I'm a big believer in performance based backend. So if you produce a result, you produce an outcome, not only should you have a guarantee like, hey, you know what, we're going to produce this result for you. And if you put the work into it, this is what you can expect. So I've been doing this long enough that I can pretty much say, here's our goal, here's what we're shooting for. Let's reverse engineer the process of how you're going to get there. So that then becomes your North Star goal. And then let's build your program and your process around that. And you know what? With us having a performance-based back end, we all benefit from it because if I win, if you win and I can help you get to where you want to go, I win as well. It's kind of like I've always had that mentality, even, obviously as a producer, if you don't produce, you don't go out and hunt and kill, you're not bringing anything home. So we structured our engagements the same way.
Yeah. So basically, try to align the incentives, so that you both benefit from the success of the program.
Exactly. Exactly.
All right. All right, all right. When this goes live, I will tag both you and HPX on LinkedIn.
Yep.
For the listeners, hpxagency.com, and again, both will be included in the show notes, both your LinkedIn and the HPX website. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Tony. It's been an honor and a pleasure, and I love nerding out with you, with my fellow compadres on in the insurance industry. It's always awesome. So we make it fun and interesting, don't we?
It is a very fun, very interesting in industry for sure, and the agency side can be incredibly profitable, especially if once you figure out what niche uh, you both have the markets for, the knowledge, and the passion for.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Thanks again. I really appreciate you. You're doing some great work for the industry. Thank you.
Thank you.